Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Ready, Set, Grow podcast, where we like to showcase early stage companies and innovative organizations and hear some of the stories and meet some interesting people. My name is Joe Dales, and I'm one of the co-founders of RH Accelerator. Today, we have a super guest host, Diana Laturnis from Regina. Hi, Diana.
Hi.
And we're really happy to have Jacqueline Keena from Winnipeg, who's the Director of Policy at EMILI. So, Jacqueline, thanks for joining us here today. And can you share a little bit about, tell the audience who you are and about your role at EMILI?
Sure. Good morning, Joe. Hi, Diana. It's great to be here. I watched Ray Bouchard's podcast, and I was really thrilled to be invited to come on and share a little bit about EMILI as well. So EMILI, the Enterprise Machine Intelligence Learning Initiative, certainly a long-named organization, but it's an industry-led agri-food AI accelerator here in Manitoba. So we really work to accelerate the ag industry in the province of Manitoba, across the prairies, as we see those synergies and areas of collaboration. We have a couple of areas of focus that I'll get into, I'm sure, over the course of this conversation. But our purpose is to think about how intelligent technologies can accelerate the ag industry and integrate them through skills and talent work specifically with industry to increase the uptake and integration of these technologies in order to accelerate the industry, and as well think about the future skills and sort of jobs of tomorrow aspect of how digital technologies will continue to shape and evolve the industry.
Awesome. So Jacqueline, you mentioned it's an industry-led initiative. How did that come to be?
Sure. So in 2016, there was this group of industry and industry leaders, I should say, and university and college presidents that were in discussions in Manitoba. They were sort of seeing this looming digital disruption happen around artificial intelligence and machine learning. And they got together to say, how do we make sure that Manitoba can leverage this opportunity? The agri-food industry pretty quickly rose to the top there as a significant driver of Manitoba's provincial economy. And so that was kind of the sort of sector to start in, is how this started. And so around using intelligent technologies for the ag industry, this was sort of an interest of a lot of the CEOs who formed the EMILI board actually in 2016. And then pretty quickly at the same time, came to understand that these technologies are going to disrupt the industry, and it's also going to disrupt the kinds of jobs and the skill sets that are needed. And so that's where that academic piece came in, understanding how skills are going to be transformed, and that will happen quickly. And so this closer collaboration between industry and academia will be required to make sure that we can actually pivot those fairly quickly.
I'm interested to hear a little bit more about some of your members. Like, what's the range and can you share a little bit about that?
Sure. So the people that EMILI works with, I would say, really spans the agri-food value chain. You know, from startups, including tech startups who maybe wouldn't consider themselves to be a digital ag or an ag company at all, but maybe have a product or service that really can advantage or accelerate the industry, all the way to legacy industries that are operating really well and have been for hundreds of or 100 years, but that understand that intelligent technologies either will disrupt or really provide an opportunity to accelerate their business. And so we've really had interest from across the value chain. And on the academic side, I think the really interesting part is that disciplines from all over universities and colleges also sort of see the opportunity for their skill sets in digital ag. And that's something that we're always working to grow, because this transformed industry will require skill sets from all disciplines.
Mm-hmm. So when you mention intelligent technologies, what are you referring to there?
So for us, intelligent technologies is really a term that means any smart technology, any smart digital technology, I should say. So AI, machine learning, blockchain, IoT, we think about augmented virtual reality, all of those sorts of things. And the purpose for us with this umbrella term is to be all-encompassing so that our work continues to stay relevant and keep pace with how things are changing.
Mhm.
You mentioned that you guys are investing a fair bit into research and projects. Are there any highlights that you want to share with the rest of the agricultural community?
Yeah, absolutely. So in 2019, one of the projects that EMILI was funded through Western Diversification on was in partnership with the University of Winnipeg. So it was called Machine Learning to Grow the Digital Ag Industry. And this is a project to grow a massive labeled data set of accurately labeled prairie crops and weeds. So this project has been underway since 2019 and will continue to be until 2022. And the purpose here is to have this labeled data set of accurately labeled images of prairie crops and weeds. We see this really as a foundational data set for other technologies to be built upon it. I think the most well-known or easily understood example is John Deere's See and Spray technology, where a sprayer can move across the field, and because it can distinguish between crop and weed, it only sprays the weed. Herbicide application goes down by up to 90%, it's estimated. So that's I think sort of the low-hanging fruit of what this technology can do, but certainly we see that algorithms, AI, machine learning can only be impactful and effective as a result of a data set for it to train on. And so that's what this work is trying to do, is actually create that foundational data set. And so this year, actually, it concluded just a few weeks ago. We were out in full-scale fields collecting these images to populate the data set. And throughout the winter and over the course of the project, they'll also be collecting images in growth chambers.
Wow, that sounds amazing. So what other types of projects are you guys working on? Sounds like a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, we certainly have a good time, and we get really excited about lots of really all the aspects of our work. So that research component with the University of Winnipeg, Doctors Chris Bidnossi and Chris Henry, there is sort of the significant research area that we work to support. And then the other areas of EMILI's activity are around the digital ag ecosystem in Manitoba. And as I mentioned, we certainly work on prairie-wide projects where we see a fit and where we see complementarity, but our efforts are primarily focused in Manitoba. So some of this ecosystem scale work is around skills training and talent development. I would say the sort of focal activity there is Manitoba's digital ag table. So this is modeled a little bit after Canada's economic strategy tables, in that we're pulling together industry, academia, nonprofits, and government to work on increasing collaboration, sort of seizing this digital ag opportunity. And one of the key outcomes that we're going to have of this group is increasing work integrated learning opportunities for students. That gets back to this interdisciplinary approach to the skill sets needed in digital agriculture, and really just making sure that groups that have aligned interests actually around growing digital agriculture have a forum to communicate and collaborate more frequently. And so this group is about 40 people, a mix of industry, academia, nonprofit, and government, working together to say, hey, what are you doing over there that can be applied here, and vice versa? And how do we work together to make sure that we're not duplicating efforts and really building off of each other's strengths? So that's in the skills and training bucket. We also do, we're launching a virtual career panel this fall. That probably would have been an in-person career panel had it not been for COVID. But one of the great parts about the virtual element is that we're going to be able to stream it into rural and northern Manitoba as a result of the fact that it's virtual. So we're hoping to reach even more students as a result of that. And then another pillar here is intelligent tech integration. So this idea of increasing the uptake of intelligent technologies. I would say our flagship activity in this area is the Agriculture Enlightened conference that's coming up on November the 4th as a hybrid. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. And then the last pillar is access to capital. So we know this is a pretty big gap in the prairies, especially for ag tech startups and scale-ups. And this 2019 heat map for venture capital investment across Canada showed only about 2% of all VC deals done in the country happened in the prairies. So we're looking to do what we can to change that, because we know that without the ability to scale, talent leaves and it's an IP retention issue as well. We know that we have great talent here in the prairies and innovative ideas getting created, and so we want to do what we can to support their ability to actually stay in the prairies and scale here. So that's kind of that runs the gamut of what we do day to day.
Nice.
Yeah, that's terrific. Do you want to talk a little bit about how the agricultural community can engage with EMILI and these projects? I'm excited to hear about all the pillars in the initiative. What do you guys need? How can we support you? How do we get involved?
Sure. So of course, EMILI has Twitter and things like this through the website, getting our regular updates about the kind of work that's going on. As it relates to the University of Winnipeg Label Dataset Project, we intend to launch this dataset sort of in one iteration in the fall, and then of course in its sort of fullest form in 2022. So it'll continue to be added to until it exists in the form that it takes by 2022, and certainly it'll be added to beyond that as well. We intend to launch this on EMILI's technology and talent platform through a data trust, and so our work there is to make sure that for the first while of that data set being available, that it is primarily and exclusively accessed by Canadian industry, academia, and other actors. As that project received significant funding from the federal government, we want that to be given a head start to Canadian innovators for its use. So that will be rolling out this fall as well. And then on the conference front, we have a website, AgEnlightened.ca, and we'll be rolling out lots more materials this week and next, actually, on the conference. And whether people attend in person or virtually, we see that as a pretty significant touch point with EMILI, and certainly with all of the other attendees of the conference.
Mm-hmm. So what kind of speakers or topics are you having at the conference this year?
So it's called Agriculture Enlightened. That name really came about as a result of us thinking about digital disruption and the ag industry disrupted. But those are conversations that have been happening for a while now. And so we wanted to take it to the next step. We wanted to think about, okay, disruption's here, it's happened, we're all familiar. What is the next thing that happens? How do we actually take these disruptions and these intelligent technologies and harness them to grow the industry? And so to that end, the conference has a significant focus on data, how we leverage it, data ownership issues, monetization, how we sort of see that exponential value through to the end. And so one of the speakers that we're most excited about is Todd Jansen of the Ag Data Transparent Certification. And so we're hoping to get into a conversation with him about the circumstances that ensued to actually spur him to create that certification, what it means, what it looks like for people or companies that have that certification, and sort of what things are inherent to it, and how that helps data creators maintain their ownership of data. I should mention that Farm Credit Canada is the title sponsor of Agriculture Enlightened, and they were the first organization in Canada to have that Ag Data Transparent certification. So we're certainly excited for that element as well. And then we're going to have a series of presentations called What's Your It? So what's your it being what's your intelligent technology, where we invite ag tech companies from across Canada to tell us about their intelligent tech and how it's working for them in their company. So it's a great opportunity to highlight the innovative and world-class products and services that are already going on across Canada. We have some great presentations lined up and a few spots left to fill. And then the other thing that I think I wanted to highlight about this conference is just innovation success stories, specifically around protein. And so, what we want to do here is really highlight the success that the prairies have already had in realizing the protein opportunity, including how data and technology plays as a part of that. And then also think about what's left to be accomplished in protein, plant and animal, and how we can sort of continue to seize this opportunity in the prairies and also across the country.
Mm-hmm.
That's fabulous. Congrats on the progress that you're making. Any last thoughts or anything else that you want to share with our audience?
As it relates to the conference, I would say that we're expecting upwards of 250 people joining in person and virtually. this mobile app that we're working on is truly quite interactive. So we expect it to be a fulsome experience for people who attend online. And as it relates sort of more broadly to EMILI and digital agriculture, the Manitoba Digital Agriculture Table met in late June, and we asked them, in your minds, where does digital agriculture fit on the life cycle curve? Sort of as an element of agriculture. And everybody placed it somewhere between just initial startup and very early in the growth stage of that curve. And so we think that the opportunities are really significant, and sort of that the best is yet to come in this digital agriculture space. And that's why we're so passionate about this work for Manitoba and really for Canada.
Those are some really great initiatives, Jacqueline. I think it's exciting what you're doing there. And is there a way to get in touch with you after this if somebody wanted to learn more? Or
Certainly. So EMILICanada.com is our regular organization website. There's a really easy contact us button that gets answered pretty quickly. And and there's a page there that directs to the conference, but straight to the conference is AgEnlightened.ca.
Nice.
Well, that's wonderful. So thank you so much for sharing everything, Jacqueline. And I know everybody's going to show up to the conference and see all the cool things. Diana, thanks for a great podcast here this morning. And we really appreciate you guys joining us for the Ready, Set, Grow podcast. Thanks again.
Thank you. Take care.